Ah, Spider-Man. What a good hero. Who the hell is this guy? Insomniac absolutely knocked it out of the park with the first Spider-Man game, getting praised up the butt, and even getting a remastered version years down the line. It was full of heart, passion, and most importantly, reference to other Spider-Man media, while standing alone as its own story. Despite all that success, there was one thing that was missing: the black suit. Insomniac actually said that they didn't put the suit in intentionally because they wanted to save it for another story. And that another story was Spider-Man 2. There was just one problem with this reveal. The game was still in development! So to tie fans over until Spider-Man 2's release, Insomniac created a short game while expanding upon another character entirely. In fact, it was a character that they were going to be playing as in the second game: Miles Morales. In this first game, Miles got bitten by a spider, which relatively went nowhere, but was more of a setup for the second game, Spider-Man 2. However, Insomniac wanted to do something a little bit different for Miles. Because in some continuities of Spider-Man, Miles is seen as someone who takes up the mantle of Spider-Man after Peter Parker over here dies. But in recent continuity, he's seen more as Spider-Man's sidekick. And since he didn't get much screen time with his superpowers aside from a post-credits scene in the DLC, this was a perfect opportunity for Insomniac to not only give him his own origin story, but make it something a bit more unique. The only question is, does this game still hold up? Well, I'm Mr. Galaxy the Galaxy Cat, and today we're going to be reviewing Spider-Man Miles Morales. Members of Team Shadow, video game enthusiasts, both old and new alike, who want to see this game is worthy of collection or not? Let's get started! The story of Spider-Man Miles Morales goes as follows. 1 year after the events of the first game, Spidey and Miles are watching prisoners go to the raft, when all of a sudden, the Rhino breaks out! After knocking down Peter Parker, Miles unlocks strange new lightning-based attacks, which Genki calls Venom abilities. Rhino is easily defeated by Miles' new powers. However, a strange new person named... it's the Blair situation all over again. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, he hardly shows up in the story aside from near the end, so I'm just gonna call him Mr. Corporate. So Mr. Corporate takes Rhino in, and Miles and Spider-Man celebrate with some pizza. However, Parker says he's going on vacation with MJ to Simcaria, something that's been built up since the DLC. So, after taking the Spider-Man oath, Pete leaves behind one more present for Miles, and Miles is the only one who can defend New York City. So things are looking smooth sailing for our boy, right? Wrong. Because now that the demons are gone, a new crime syndicate known as the Underground is rising up to attack Roxxon locations. So with the help of Genki and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man app that they developed together, it's up to Miles Morales to save New York City before the Tinkerer destroys it from an explosion that's supposed to blow up Roxxon City, but it turns out it's actually going to blow up all of Miles' new neighborhood. But the day is saved, and the story ends with the Tinkerer sacrificing herself to save Miles' home, while Peter comes back to congratulate him on saving the city by himself. So overall, short and simple. It's not too complex, but it doesn't need to be. It's a smaller game, so the stakes are on a smaller scale, and I really like that. Plus, the world building is fantastic. I love that the Prowler is not only alive by the end of the story, but actually tries to stop us from becoming a hero. Not because he has a vendetta against Miles, no, he wants to protect his nephew before he gets killed like his brother did. Because from the last game, Miles' father got killed by being a hero. And Miles knows that he's risking his life, because with great power comes great responsibility, and the responsibility that he has to defend New York City is one that he's willing to die for. One thing I don't like is the reveal that the Tinkerer is Finn. I get that this game is smaller, but come on, they could have made the voice modulator to sound a lot more manly or intimidating or distorted, and they couldn't wait until near the end of the game to reveal that Finn is the Tinkerer. But those are just nitpicks really, because overall, the story as a whole, while not as great as the original game, is still a fun Spidey-filled adventure, which is why I'm gonna give it a B rank. The only reason it's not getting an A rank is because some of the plot twists are pretty predictable. Like, yeah, we knew that Mr. Corp was going to be the evil bad guy, we knew he was going to modify the Rhino, and we knew that the Tinker was going to be an evil bad guy, but come on, it's still a fun story. For Miles' first time as Spider-Man, he really went off with a bang and showed New York City and the world that he's not only a different Spider-Man, he's his own Spider-Man. One that's willing to defend the city when Spidey is out of town. Graphics up next, and I love me some snow. So it's kind of obvious that the map is reused from the original Spider-Man 1, but given a slight graphical update and a snow-themed environment. And it's especially pretty at night. Like, come on! You guys! You're making me a graphics over gameplay kind of cat, and I'm normally a gameplay over graphics kind of cat! The visuals in this game, especially the final moments of the game, are absolutely fantastic, but I can't give it an S rank. Don't get me wrong, the visuals are better, but not by much. Near the end of my first and second playthrough, I was kind of over the graphics. We saw a bunch of snow, we saw a bunch of lights, but it started to blend in for me, and I really didn't like that. Because of that, I'm gonna begrudgingly give the graphics a B rank. It's still fantastic, and the game takes full advantage of its Christmas theme, but it kind of gets stale after a while. I really hope Spider-Man 2 does more of its graphics, because realistic settings can only get you so far in video games. Hi, future Mr. Galaxy here. I changed my mind about the graphics. I'm gonna give it the original A rank it deserves, because what they do in the next game is absolutely beautiful. The only reason I downgraded it in the first place is because I played this game back to back with Spider-Man 1. But after thinking about it for a while, if Spider-Man 1 got an S rank over graphics, then Spider-Man Miles Morales gets an A rank over graphics, especially since they improved it significantly in Spider-Man 2. Spoilers! We got spoilers here for the next review! But sleep well knowing that the game's gonna look pretty no matter what I say. Content's up next, and this is both the best and worst part about Spider-Man Miles Morales. First off, runtime. It takes about 7.5 hours for you to beat, if you just focus on the main story. If you focus on 100% completion, then about 18.5 hours for 100% completion with the Platinum Trophy. I love me some Platinums. On top of that, there's also 20 suits for you to collect, which is a downgrade from the previous one where it had over 50 suits, but since this is a smaller game, I'm gonna let it pass. But aside from that, things are relatively the same throughout New York City. You still got some bases you can go through. You still got some side quests you can do. One of my favorites being the fact that the Kingpin is still around and he tries to take over New York City despite being in jail. And you also have Spider-Man's challenges, which can include speed, combat, and stealth. I hate these stealth challenges so goddamn much. So whenever what I said about the challenges in Spider-Man 1, where I said that they're pretty easy to beat, but still full of challenge, well, the combat one is the easiest one to do. The speed challenges, although difficult, were still a fun time to get through. But what the hell did Screwball do to Spider-Man? I thought I was the only one who went insane, but apparently something hit Spider-Man's psyche as well, because these stealth challenges are an absolute nightmare. Okay, in theory, it's not a bad challenge, doing what you did in the stealth challenges in Taskmaster by beating them the fastest you can. However, Spidey has made them unbelievably difficult. If an enemy knows you at least one time, the challenge is over. Mr. Galaxy, that's how stealth challenges normally go. Okay, yes, fail, but they were never this difficult. I swear, I have never restarted on a stealth challenge more times than I've ever done in Spider-Man Miles Morales. Taskmaster stealth challenges were easy, Screwball's stealth challenges made me want to die, and this one just made me want to make a noose for myself. The stealth challenges were so bad, I didn't have to use a goddamn tutorial just to get through them. Yes, a tutorial. A tutorial! A tutorial! But Mr. Galaxy, you silly bitch! These are just optional collectibles! Why would you need to complete these challenges? I'm glad you asked, floating tomb in my head. You see, these can unlock secret passive abilities that improve the gameplay a lot. it's time we talk about the upgrades. Okay, they're your standard affair. You get some upgrades to improve your suit, you get some upgrades to increase your gadget slots and power, you get some upgrades to increase your power in general. What's so bad about these upgrades? You will never 100% complete Spider-Man Miles Morales on a regular save. You need to complete it 100% in New Game Plus. You heard me right. Those last 3 upgrades and the secret costume that you can get, you can't get that in the main profile of your game. You have to get that on a second playthrough entirely. On one hand, I get it. I really do get it. The game is smaller, so you gotta cut some corners, and to give players some money's worth, you provide some content, some New Game Plus stuff, so that way players can play through the game while unlocking more stuff and doing some other stuff that they haven't completed in the main profile. But New Game Plus is kind of pointless since it takes all of your currently upgraded items in your normal playthrough and transfers them over into another save file. So what's stopping someone from playing this game again on the easiest difficulty if they don't want a challenge? So what? 4 optional unlockables are locked behind New Game Plus. Big whoop. I've already completed everything in my original profile, so I just gotta play through the game and then I'll get 100%. You're funny! If you really want 100% of your save file again, you have to do all those missions again. Which means you have to do the stealth segments all over again, trying to get the perfect rank. Yes, I do want to die. You could kill me now. Luckily, the unlockables that you get during those missions are transferred over, so thank God! I have never been so conflicted on content before. Because on one hand, I understand that it's a smaller game, on a smaller scale, but on the other hand, what's the point? Why would you lock some stuff behind another playthrough if the unlockables you're gonna get are not even that great? Aside from like a few upgrades for your visual and suit mods, there's nothing worthwhile. I mean, when I played through the game again, I did it on the hardest difficulty, but even then, the game still felt relatively easy, especially since I was nearly max level in my second playthrough. Some of the side quests and side collectibles were fun to collect, but I got them easily in like a span of a few hours. Begrudgingly, I'm going to have to give the game's content a B rank. Yeah, it's still a decent amount of game. There's not much as it was in the original, but it's nothing to say that, hey, this is not your money's worth. If you just want to play through the game once, then you got a decent amount of stuff to do. If you want to play through it again, but a few more unlockables, but not much, but you also want to get some stuff done that you didn't do in the main game, then New Game Plus is perfectly optimal for you. Normally, I don't count New Game Pluses in my reviews unless they do something a little bit different in their games. And this is one of those cases where they do something a little bit different, which is why I'm talking about it now. For a smaller game, it comes in big packages, even though I don't like how they handled some of the unlockables. Next up is the bread and butter of all video games, the gameplay. It's your standard Spider-Man affair. You go around groups of enemies and you fight them while juggling them at the same time, using your gadgets and webbing them up. However, there are some new changes to the combat system. First off, the ways you do finishers are completely different. Remember in the first game where you had to fill up a focus bar to heal yourself or do a finishing move? Well, in this game it functions the same, but the finishers only activate every 15 combo. This is something I'm glad that they changed. It encourages players to keep on fighting while not trying to give them an overpowered instant win button. It forces the player to become competent at the game. You're either good at fighting enemies, or you're gonna be running around like a pussy, never seeing the finishing moves in your entire life. On top of that, you also have brand new Venom attacks. Not you, Venom. That's next game. You see, what makes Miles Morales a little bit different from our normal Spider-Man is the fact that he has bioelectricity floating inside his body from the radioactive spider that bit him in the first game. So in this game, he starts developing these electrical-based attacks called Venom attacks. These Venom attacks are another perfect risk-reward system. In the previous game, you could either heal or use a finisher. Now in this game, you could either heal or use a venom attack. The first 2 venom attacks take about 1 bar, and one of them lunges on your enemies while another one's an electrical punch, but the third one is an instant screen nuke where it makes a bioelectrical web to knock out enemies around you, which takes the entirety of 3 bars. I really like these venom attacks, and they change the gameplay's combat just a tad, more enough to make the game feel a lot more unique than Spider-Man 1, and that's it. It's what I would say if I wasn't stupid. Yep, venom attacks aren't the only thing that Miles can do. He can also turn invisible. They still won't make the stealth challenges a lot more easier. Screw you, Peter. Why would you make these harder? If you notice this strange little eyeball on top of the HUD, that's not a stealth meter. That's a stealth meter. Wait, I said that wrong. Okay, let me clarify so I don't confuse you guys. So basically, this thing is a meter that allows Miles to turn invisible. Fully charged, ba-bam! He gone! But the meter will slowly drain, and it'll drain faster if you try to use it in combat. This meter doesn't really change much in terms of combat, but in terms of stealth segments, well, aside from the Peter Parker missions, it made the stealth segments a lot more easy. Unfortunately, this is the start of Insomniac's... well... You remember in Spider-Man 1 where we had a ton of stealth segments that Spider-Man, where getting caught at least once would ruin the mission, causing you to have to restart over and over and over again? They weren't that bad, but they were pretty fun. But I guess the MJ and Miles segments from the first game ruined Insomniac's passion for those segments, because now if you get caught, yeah, it's totally fine now. I intentionally went invisible in case I got caught, mainly because there's an achievement that you can get that's required for 100% platinuming, but why would Insomniac change this? It just ruins the stealth of Spider-Man. Part of the appeal of Spider-Man's stealth is the risk factor. If he gets caught, then it's game over for the hostages. I would admire if this stealth change was in a few segments when there aren't any hostages, but this happens throughout the entire game, so what's the point of these stealth segments where I could just turn off my invisibility cloak and just punch, kick, web, thwip, done. It absolutely ruins what made the stealth segment special in the first place, at least when it came to Spider-Man. And something that I wish they would change in the second game, but hearing Insomniac's interview when Spider-Man 2 was still in production, I don't really have high hopes for it. But aside from that, the web slinging is fantastic, the combat is still satisfying, and the gameplay is going to get an A rank. Finally, we come to the things that accompanies all video games. The music, the pops, the things you listen to as it tries to be unique, but it just feels like the same generic superhero stuff. I'm sorry guys, I know the game's music is good, it's just that it's not memorable for me. But then again, I am New York's only Spider-Man. So we gotta be prepared to fight the underground. Because even though the Prowler is working for the villains, he's trying to protect us. But we gotta make things right, even though our best friend is our worst enemy. While the music is still generic superhero music, at least in my ears, it's still slightly more memorable than the first game, just by a tad. But I'm still gonna give it a C rank. The only thing they've done is add that annoying in the back of some music tracks, and that's pretty much it. But aside from that, the music still does what it needs to do in some moments. It's just, whenever I'm done with the game, the music just comes out of my head like spaghetti. I'm sorry, I still don't remember any of the music, and I don't find myself humming the theme of any music from this game aside from the main game's theme. You know, I remembered when I gave Spider-Man an A rank, and I really didn't like that. But for Spider-Man Miles Morales, this is exactly what I expected to give it. Going into the game, I knew it was going to be small because of what happened at the time. But nowadays, now that Spider-Man 2 is released, this is a small, yet fun package that I highly recommend. It's pretty much the same as Spider-Man, but on a much more smaller scale, both content-wise and gameplay-wise. But even then, the costumes are fun to unlock still, the combat is as enjoyable as ever with the new Venom abilities, the story is still very strong, and it's more Spider-Man. I'm Mr. Galaxy Cat, and this has been a review of Spider-Man Miles Morales. Do you agree with my opinions, or do you disagree with my opinions? Let me know in the comments down below. But until next time, peace out, members of Team Shadow. Please remember to stay catty, live life your own way, stay safe during these trying times. I'll see you all in the castle. Until next time, adieu, everybody.